Hi guys, welcome to Vote Sports. Today, let's talk about Arsenal. The number one goalkeeping position has been a debate for quite some time now. Now, Arteta has approved the permanent signing of Raya. He is going to stay at Arsenal for the next 4-5 seasons. Now, where does that leave Ramsdale? Some Arsenal fans are supporting Ramsdale. Some are saying, okay, let's trust Arteta, but it's been a debate now. There is a bid from Wolves for Ramsdale to leave Arsenal, and some Arsenal fans are not happy. They are saying that they believe that Ramsdale should be number one, but obviously Arteta I think otherwise. So today we are going to talk about these both goalkeepers and what how it's going to affect Arsenal this season. Okay guys, Ramsdale and Raya first. If you look at them, both of them, some people say, for me, when I look at them, they are mostly similar, but some people see difference. There are different strengths and weaknesses in both goalkeepers. But Ramsdale leaving Arsenal, do you think it's a good thing for Arsenal? And then they are going to bring in another goalkeeper for next season.
For me, I think it's not a good deal for Arsenal. It's a good deal for Ramsdale in the sense that he gets to play more football at Wolves away from Arsenal. But I think him leaving Arsenal weakens the side because you have Arsenal being active in 4 competitions this year, and they could use a Ramsdale in their side. It's not as if Ramsdale has been frozen out of the first team. Ramsdale has played a big part, a lot of games for Arsenal last season in the FA Cups, Carabao Cup, and other competition. But the problem is that he's not the anointed number one goalkeeper for Arsenal, which is David Raya right now. So I think if he comes away from the feeling of not being number one and he looks at the stats for last season, if he looks at his performances in the games he was called upon, the team trusted him in those scenarios, he can see that he has a role to play in the Arsenal side, and they make the entire team better. Having both of them, 2 world-class goalkeepers in the side, makes the team better. They can take on any opponent. They can, it felt like Arteta said in the interview he gave when initially moved to get Raya, he can change the goalkeepers in any match if he feels the need to do so.
But he didn't do that
yeah, of course, Raya won't give Ramsdale an option to be able to come off the bench, so his performance has to be on par. Ramsdale's performance has to be on par too. So we have 2 world-class goalkeepers at Arsenal, and Arsenal need to, do whatever it's going to take to keep them both.
Okay, if you look at both of the goalkeepers, Ramsdale, some people say that Ramsdale is good because probably he has he knows how to ginger the crowd. He knows how to just woke up the crowd. We have this charisma in that team, but he needs to play. Some people are personally, I think that if he has played for Arsenal throughout the last season, he would have been England number one goalkeeper. Because of that, he didn't play much for Arsenal. He wasn't number one goalkeeper. Now he's looking to go away to go to Wolves. But the problem that him going to Wolves are the middle team. Now they are not going to play in the Champions League or European competition. So he puts him in the same place where Pickford is too, playing in these middle teams. But if you look at it again, he's going to play. But if he stays at Arsenal, there are no guarantees. Even though when he's saying that Arteta said that he can change goalkeepers, but it didn't happen last season. So now, do you think that he should be staying and probably fight, or probably go and get the game time somewhere?
I saw Arsenal post, I think middle of the season, after Raya kept his 10th clean sheet of the season. I saw a post where they compared Raya to I think it was the prime Buffon. As some Arsenal fans, not really all of them, and I got in a debate with some of them, and I'm like, why would you compare Raya to somebody as great as Buffon? And the answer was, he's kept many clean sheets in just his first season at Arsenal. When he was at Brentford, or perhaps he was keeping clean sheets, and now he's keeping more clean sheets, and he's good on the ball as well, like a midfielder. He plays as a midfielder. And I asked myself, what does Raya bring to the table? Raya is also as good with his hands as he is with his legs. So sometimes he's just distracted that you play an outside shot from 30 yards out. He has this weakness with David Raya, which means from 30 yards out, you can catch them sleeping, which Raya does not. But still, he has that charisma and knows how to invite the fans to motivate the team. And that's a player that every team should need, someone who knows how to communicate with the fan base while they are playing. In Dortmund, they call it the yellow wall. Once you're playing against a Dortmund defense, the goalkeeper knows how to raise the ginger of the yellow wall behind him, and you're not going to be seeing the goalpost. So I think Raya has that charisma around him to invite, or perhaps invite the fans to get into the game as well. But Arteta is a Spanish man. He brought in a Spaniard to the team, and definitely he's not going to bench his Spaniard brother. But I'm not going to talk about politics here now. But I think
I don't even think it's politics.
I think it's happening at Man United where they're bringing almost all the Dutch players who's played in Netherlands before. But for Arteta now, he's bringing in a Raya who's good. I'm not going to take that away from him, but I believe there should be some form of competition for sides. This person should play. You're playing Champions League next season, yes. This person should play Premier League. This person plays Champions League. This person plays FA Cup. This person plays Carabao Cup. It happened at West Ham United even until West Ham went on to win the Conference League. I'm not comparing the both teams on the same level. I'm just saying it gives you that position to say, okay, this goalkeeper is good for this competition, and this goalkeeper is good for this competition, and you have that when they give performance. Now you're having a selection headache on who's going to keep or be behind the sticks or between the sticks in the next big games. Is who gives you performance in a big game that you look out for. It's not really the performance.
I think
on small games.
most times, John, every coach wants their, especially back five, that's the goalkeeper and four central. They want to keep it steady. They don't like changing it because sometimes the communication gets better when the season. I think the difference between luckily probably Raya came in when Arsenal 5 and 6, now Saliba and Gabriel, we are already on top form, so they help them keep a whole lot.
This is where
I want to ask one, because I think the problem here is saying Arteta, when this particular interview, I remember Arteta saying that he brought in Ramsdale when nobody believed in him, because I think he went to back-to-back relegation, so he brought him into this Arsenal fold when everybody was criticizing him, so that even if he's changing him now, that nobody should criticize him. That was his own standpoint of view. But generally now, if you look at this team, Arsenal, Raya or Ramsdale, who do you pick as a coach?
It's a no-brainer. It's Raya. Now, you were saying something about him choosing him when nobody believes in him. But let's just go back to 2022-2023 season, and let's just look at some stats now, just for crying out loud. Raya faced 562 shots, and Ramsdale's faced 343 shots. Of the two of them, 200 on target, 137 for Ramsdale on target. Save percentage, 77% for Raya, 68.6 for Ramsdale. Saves percentage in the box, 71 for Raya, 66.7 for Ramsdale. 86.5 save percentage outside the box for Ramsdale, 75.9 for 75.9 for Ramsdale. If you look at catches, 51 for Raya, 17 for Ramsdale. Punches, 14 for Ramsdale, 10 for Raya. If you look at clearances, Ramsdale more with 34, 20 for Raya. So the key indicators when it comes to saving the ball, saving chances in your face, Raya is 1 or 2 notches ahead of Ramsdale. Now that doesn't mean that Ramsdale is not a good goalkeeper. It just means that this guy is more composed. He knows how to marshal his defense ahead of him fine, and then his responsiveness to attacks is a bit faster. Do you understand me? That doesn't necessarily mean that Ramsdale is a poor goalkeeper, because he's a good goalkeeper in his own right. But the thing is, when it comes down to these fine numbers, when it comes down to the stats, you will just see that this guy is a few notches ahead of Ramsdale. And Ramsdale is not the finished product right now, even though he feels he's the finished product. He still has some developing to do. You see him concede crazy goals. You see him get into scenarios where he shouldn't be in scenarios.
I remember
look at all over last season. If you look at all over last season, I don't think you can count on one finger how many times Ramsdale had that type of brushes. So it's things like this, fine details like this, that sets goalkeepers apart, if you ask me.
Okay, finally, Nonso, do you think that Raya is better because his defense, the people in front of him are now good? So he gives, defense gives a goalkeeper confidence. If you look at then when the gear was still, he still had Ferdinand and Vidic in front of him. You see, he was really good. But in process of time, defenders kept changing, and you notice that his performance started dropping. You will not call it age. So do you think that this confidence helped Raya, because Arsenal considered more goals when Ramsdale was the first team, but when Arsenal got better, he was not Raya? Do you think that is that confidence that gave that Raya the first team?
I think communication with the team, first of all, with the defense line, and the communication with the fan base. And I think for some reason, Saliba has a way of raising the back wall after that, the back side of the goal post, where he has this communication with the fans and they kept gingering, and you see Raya on his toes 247. I think that's one thing. Raya came into a side that was already complete. I won't say already complete because he came in and that was it, and he's been on the top form since then. And before then, Arsenal's defense were kind of shaky a bit, but now they've gotten their flair, they've gotten their ginger. Now you say Raya is better, but I'm seeing this on big games. You don't see Raya.
I disagree, because the stats I just gave you was from 2022-23 season, when Ramsdale was still at Arsenal, Raya was still at Brentford, a lesser team in that regard, with more games because they played in the Championship, they came to the Premier League. You can see consistently over 2 seasons in the Championship and again in the Premier League before he made the move that this guy was notches ahead. Now, if he came into the Arsenal fold and last season the defense got better, is going to sweeten the pie. It doesn't take away from his stats.
A Brentford side that was always packing the box and hitting on the break to an Arsenal side who's always playing an attack. That's the problem.
Look at the stats, though.
It's not about the stats. I said in big games. When your team is playing in big games, your defense line is low block. For Brentford, when Raya did, because I know the stats you're using is a Brentford stat. There's a low block, so you have more chances of defender covering for you. That's what I'm saying. In a good defensive team, you have a good goalkeeper. When the defense is not good, like you saw I think Onana in Inter Milan, you can't use his stats to compare last season's stats. In his last start in Inter Milan, he went to the Champions League. He was the best goalkeeper in the world 2 years ago. But last year he was not. Up until July this year, he was not, because you saw the errors he kept conceding for Man United. But in that same errors at Inter Milan, he was the best goalkeeper because he led Inter Milan to the Champions League final 2 years ago. So last year or last 2 seasons ago. Now last season those numbers are not the same for Man United. So I'm just saying, if your defense is good, you have a good goalkeeper. If your defense is terrible, you have a very terrible goalkeeper. It's as simple as that.
I think I understand that if you look at that way. Okay, let's see what Arsenal is going to be doing, because the Wolves are now agreed to sign Ramsdale from Arsenal. Probably a loan first before a permanent. Probably Arsenal wants a permanent move, but let's see how it's going to pan out. If Ramsdale go, Arsenal will probably going for a Spanish goalkeeper from Espanyol, Garcia. So let's see how that happens. For Arsenal fans, they are divided for this particular position. Some is supporting Raya and some is supporting Ramsdale. But Arteta has already made up his mind that Raya is going to be his number 1 goalkeeper, probably in the Premier League and the Champions League. That means Ramsdale has to play only the FA Cup and the Carling Cup, which probably he does not want. He wants to play a first-team football. He thinks he's good, and he can justify that. So let's see what Arteta and Arsenal is going to be doing. Probably, if they do well, they will wrestle that league away from Manchester City. See you guys next time.